number 24 Kansas at number 3 Texas, which is at 3:30 p.m. on ABC. And the storyline for me, Dalton, is can they shock the world again? Because 2 years ago, both Texas and Kansas had new head coaches in Steve Sarkisian and Lance Leipold, who are both still there. And Leipold and the Jayhawks, man, colossal upset. They won 57-56 in overtime, despite being 31-point underdogs. It was the first time ever that Kansas beat Texas in Austin. Now they're going to try to do it for the second straight time and the second time ever. So Kansas has some, Lance Leipold and the Jayhawks have some success in Austin. But ultimately, Dalton, what is the matchup that you're looking forward to see if the Jayhawks can pull it off again this year?
It's actually about which team can run the ball.
Okay.
Kansas is an elite running team, especially to the edges. If they get off tackle, they are the 6th best team in the country. Getting just to the edges. The way they run east and west with a number of different concepts, and even in their passing game, throw in the screen game and bubbles and swings and everything they throw at you to stress the wide side of the field is a problem. They have a ton of speed, and they get outside constantly. If you don't set the edge on Kansas, they'll get you all day. Now, as far as their run defense, this was the biggest problem last year. Yeah. Last year, 104th in the country in run defense grade, and Texas put up over 400 yards on the ground against them. Now, I know they had Robinson and Roschon Johnson and all the guys they had last year running the ball for Texas. That's how they beat them. I mean, it was it 55-10, I believe? 51-10, I think it was. 427 yards Texas ran for last season on Kansas. This year, all of a sudden, Kansas is 13th in the country in run defense grade, holding BYU to 9 rushing yards last week. 9. And BYU was expected to be able to run the ball on them, and Kansas was just too physical, which is odd. If that is a sustained dimension they have, if they're that physical, and their run defense is going to not, just have teams run roughshod all over them, even if they get in shootouts, Kansas doesn't want the ball run on them like that. You never do. No defensive coordinator wants the ball run on them for 427 yards, but Texas, the last 2 weeks since Ewers played an elite game against Alabama, it's gone kind of back to being more workmanlike on offense. Why the Wyoming game was a struggle. They're better than Baylor, so they were able to be more conservative, but Ewers only had an ADOT of 6 yards last week. They're throwing short passes. They're running the football. And honestly, I'm going to pose this question to you based on the numbers we have right now and what Texas has looked like outside of the Alabama, and even in part during the Alabama. Is Texas a defensive team instead of, because I know we think about Ewers and Worthy and what they did scoring 34 on Alabama, which is wicked impressive, especially in Tuscaloosa. But it looks to me that the defense is actually the foundation for Texas.
I would agree, man. And I would say Ewers was lights out against Alabama. He's been back to the inconsistent quarterback that we saw last year, man. So, listen, I think he's better than a lot of the games he showed last year. But, man, this is a Texas offense. I was like, okay, it's going to be tough for you to stop them if Ewers can put it together. Because you got Xavier Worthy. You got Jatavion Sanders, who's one of the best tight ends in the country. A.D. Mitchell has been a stud for them, transferring in from Georgia. I said, it's going to be tough, and all the other receivers they got there as well. I thought it was going to be tough for you to stop that offense. The Texas defense, like you mentioned, has been really fantastic so far to start the season. So top 10 in defensive grade, top 10 in EPA per play in the Power 5. I mean, Texas defense has been really, really good. For me, the matchup I'm watching is Jalen Daniels, man. Because 2 years ago, Jalen Daniels was the driving force in that upset. He was only a sophomore in that game. He had a 90.9 passing grade in that game. 90.5 passing grade this season, which is 5th among Power 5 quarterbacks. But like we said, 2 years ago, the Texas defense was very vulnerable. This year, is not that, man. They are really, really playing really good football right now, especially in the coverage unit, I think. And Texas, as much as the offense has quote-unquote struggled so far this season, they still have put up 30-plus points in every single game that they played this year, including Alabama, who has, as we've seen, one of the best defenses in college football. So I think Jalen Daniels is going to have another huge, huge game, and that Kansas offense is going to have to step up, man, because chances are Texas will probably be able to score 30-plus points once again in this game. But ultimately, Dalton, who do you think is coming out on top in this major Big 12 showdown?
This was a hard one. The more I watched both teams, I think this is going to be a really, really hard-nosed battle. I think it's going to be a shootout. Texas, for as well as their defense played at Alabama, we've been over Alabama's struggles for a couple of weeks. They have not seen an offense like this. They get east and west with anybody. Jalen Daniels, now, this year he comes into this year 100%. He's healthy. Hopefully he doesn't get hurt again like he did last year. Because when he was 100% last year, it was spectacular. He's really been great. Anytime he steps on a football field 100%, he's been great. I'm actually going to take the Jayhawks here. I have a feeling this is where our madness is coming. I know they never won in Austin before. Now you pick them twice in a row. I really am curious to see if their defense, they're not going to be great in this game. Look, going into Austin against this Texas team is not going to be easy. But I'm really curious to see if they can hold it together in the front seven and make Ewers beat them. Look, for some reason, we've seen Ewers tee off on Alabama twice. And otherwise, it's been this back and forth thing of, like, you see an elite throw here and then you see a handful of inaccurate. And I have a feeling they're going to load the box again, and they're going to try to make Ewers beat them. And their offense, like I said, Texas has not seen a team like this. Alabama struggled. Baylor really just can't score.
Yeah,
that's a struggle for them to score. It's been very workmanlike, and I'm not. And I know they won 38-6 last week against Baylor, but Texas offense. It's been workmanlike. They're getting through. They're winning ball games. Again, I think they were tied at 10 with Iowa after 3 quarters. Was that it's somewhere?
Wyoming, yeah,
and
It
was 10-10 late in the. Sorry, Wyoming, yeah. Which I mean they're kind of similar, but
yeah.
It's kind of a gut feeling more than anything. Kansas. They're explosive offensively. They have a ton of speed. If they can hold things down in the front seven, I think, reasonably enough, last year, I don't think they're going to give up 430 yards again. Bijan Robinson's not there. Roshan Johnson's not there. I'm going to take Kansas 41-38.
Wow. I love it, man. Kansas right now is a 16.5-point underdog. So, listen, if you're a betting man, that Kansas money line, I don't know what quite it is, but Dalton's saying take it, man, because I love that, man. It's a juicy upset. I'm going to pick Texas in this one. I think they're going to win 40-24. I think it will be close for a while, but then I think Quinn Ewers in the receiving core will kick it into high gear in the third and fourth quarter, like they did in that Wyoming game, really. So I think it will be close. I'm not picking Kansas to win, but I love that, man. I think that's a very, very fun upset, and definitely is one of the biggest spreads I think in this slate.